Imagine a world where the rain never stops. Days turn into weeks, and weeks turn into months. The ground beneath your feet transforms into an endless swamp. Your fire is dead, your clothes are soaked, and your shelter is dripping. This was not a movie. It was a terrifying reality for our ancestors. Thousands of years ago, humanity faced extreme weather crises that threatened our very survival. How did prehistoric humans survive when the heavens literally opened up? The answer lies in their incredible ingenuity and sheer will to live. First, let's travel back 74,000 years. A monstrous roar shook the earth in Sumatra, Indonesia. This was the legendary Mount Toba supervolcanic eruption. It released thousands of times more debris than any modern eruption. The skies blackened globally, triggering a volcanic winter. Along with the freezing temperatures came endless toxic acid rains. Water sources were contaminated, and plant life began to wither. Human populations plummeted to a dangerously small number. This critical period is known as the genetic bottleneck of humanity. Yet, our ancestors refused to perish. They sought deep, complex cave networks to escape the acidic downpours. Caves became the ultimate fortresses against the hostile climate. But living in a wet cave brings its own deadly challenges. Constant moisture breeds dangerous mold and deadly bacteria. Wet cold leads to rapid hypothermia, the silent killer. How did they keep dry inside these dark, rocky sanctuaries? Archaeologists discovered a brilliant secret in South Africa. At the famous Sibidu Cave, researchers unearthed ancient bedding. This bedding dates back 77,000 years. It was not just random piles of grass. Our ancestors carefully selected leaves from the Cryptocarya woodii tree. This specific plant contains natural chemical compounds. These chemicals act as powerful natural insect repellents. Mosquitoes and parasites thrive in damp, rainy conditions. By using these leaves, early humans kept their sleeping areas clean. They also burned these leaves to create insect-repelling smoke. This simple botanical trick saved thousands from malaria and other deadly infections. Keeping dry was only half the battle. Fire was their most precious and fragile tool. Without fire, they could not cook food or warm their freezing limbs. Keeping a flame alive during a relentless monsoon required genius. Humans developed portable fire-carrying kits. They kept glowing embers wrapped tightly in layers of green leaves. These leaves were then sealed inside thick animal bladder pouches. This waterproof packaging kept the embers insulated and dry for days. They also harvested natural fire starters from the wet wild. Certain fungi, like the tinder fungus, can catch sparks even when damp. They used animal fat and resin to shield their kindling from moisture. Once inside the dry cave, they built elevated hearths. These stone-lined fire pits kept the flames off the cold, wet ground. But what about food when hunting outside was impossible? Heavy rains made tracking large animals extremely dangerous. Prehistoric hunters could slip, lose their weapons, or become prey themselves. So, they turned their focus to a different food source. They became masters of the aquatic world. Let us leap forward to the African humid period. Around 11,000 years ago, the Sahara was not a dry desert. It was a lush, green landscape filled with massive lakes and rivers. But it was also subjected to intense, seasonal, monsoonal rains. In Niger, at the archaeological site of Gobero, we find answers. Excavations there revealed a thriving community of ancient fishermen. When the floods came, these resilient humans did not run away. They adapted by designing early watercraft from hollowed-out logs. They crafted delicate harpoons from animal bones. They also wove strong fishing nets using tough plant fibers. Instead of hunting dangerous mammoths, they harvested fish, turtles, and mollusks. This aquatic diet provided high proteins and essential fatty acids. It kept them healthy and strong while the storms raged outside. Their physical bodies also adapted to these wet environments. Continuous dampness can cause trench foot and skin rot. To protect themselves, they invented the world's first raincoats. They scraped animal hides until they were thin and flexible. Then, they coated the leather with animal grease and pine resin. This created an incredibly effective waterproof layer. They stitched these hides together using bone needles and sinew. The sinew would swell when wet, sealing the needle holes completely. This was prehistoric high-tech engineering at its finest. They also designed insulated footwear. They stuffed their leather shoes with dry, insulating grass. This kept their feet warm and prevented deadly fungal infections. In colder regions, rainy seasons meant freezing sleet. Here, shelter building required a different approach. They built semi-subterranean pit houses. These shelters were dug partially into the earth. The earth acted as a natural insulator against the howling wet winds. They roofed these structures with mammoth bones and heavy hides. The steep, sloped roofs allowed heavy rainwater to slide off easily. Trenches were dug around the shelters to divert flowing water. This early drainage system kept their living spaces dry. But what about water to drink when the rain was contaminated? Standing rainwater can quickly become a breeding ground for cholera. Ancient humans learned to collect fresh rainwater directly from the sky. They used large, hollowed-out gourds and stone basins. They also learned the art of filtration. They filtered muddy water through layers of sand, charcoal, and gravel. This simple method removed dangerous pathogens and sediment. It was a life-saving discovery passed down through generations. Social cooperation also played a massive role in their survival. During long periods of isolation in caves, tension could rise. To maintain peace, they turned to art and music. Cave paintings were not just decoration, they were storytelling. They shared survival tips, hunting strategies, and spiritual myths. They carved simple flutes from bird bones to play music. These creative outlets reduced stress and built strong community bonds. They also shared resources like food and dry firewood. A single family could not survive the endless rains alone, but a tight-knit tribe working together could conquer any storm. They also watched the animal kingdom closely for survival clues. They noticed which birds migrated before the heavy rains started. They observed where wild animals sought refuge from floods. By mimicking animal behavior, they anticipated major weather shifts. This gave them precious time to prepare and gather supplies. They stored dried meat and nuts in high, dry, rocky crevices. These emergency food caches saved them during weeks of non-stop downpours. Over time, their tools evolved to match the wet climate. They transitioned to smaller, sharper stone tools called microliths. These lightweight tools were easier to carry in muddy terrains. They glued these stones to wooden handles using waterproof birch tar. Birch tar is incredibly resistant to moisture and holds tight. This allowed them to have reliable hunting weapons even in the pouring rain. Every drop of rain tested their limits of endurance. Yet, they turned every obstacle into an opportunity for innovation. The endless rains forced them to think, adapt, and evolve. They mastered botany to fight dampness and insects. They mastered hydrology to manage water flow and drainage. They mastered chemistry to create waterproof glues and coatings. And they mastered sociology to keep their communities unified. This period of intense climate pressure shaped modern humanity. Those who could not adapt, unfortunately, vanished from history. But our ancestors were the ultimate survivors. They carried the flame of humanity through the darkest, wettest nights. Next time you hear the soothing sound of rain on your window, think of them. Think of the cold, damp caves of 70,000 years ago. Think of the brave hunters navigating flooded prehistoric plains. Think of the mothers keeping their babies warm under greased animal hides. Their resilience is literally written in our genetic code. We are the descendants of the ultimate storm chasers. The challenges they overcame paved the way for our civilization. From simple bone needles to modern waterproof spacesuits, the journey is long. But the core spirit of human adaptability remains exactly the same. We learn, we adapt, we survive, and we thrive. No storm is too fierce, no rain is too endless for the human spirit. The archaeological ruins of Sibidu, Toba, and Gobero stand as monuments. They remind us of the incredible battles won by our ancestors. They prove that even when nature is at its harshest, humanity finds a way. Our ancestors did not just wait for the storm to pass. They learned how to dance, hunt, and live in the rain. It is a powerful lesson for us as we face our own modern challenges. If they could survive the wrath of a prehistoric supervolcano, we can survive anything. So embrace the storms in your own life with the same courage. Thank you for exploring this wet and wild prehistoric journey with us. Stay curious, stay resilient, and see you in the next adventure.